Okay. So what do you mean by B2B market sizing, right? Again, it can be same concepts can be applied for a B2C. So it is not necessarily every time it is a B2B market sizing, right? Can somebody give me an example? Just going through this slide, whatever is written here. Can somebody give me an example? What do you mean by B2B market sizing? It can be a B2C example also, not necessarily you have to talk about B2B. Anyone?
Uh, yes, sir. Sir, I'd like to give one example. So one example would be like supposedly you are selling a product A, and there are total 10 birds of this product, and those 10 birds will be your total market size. Like uh, for another means like if there is another seller and that seller is selling to 3 of these 10 buyers and you sell to the remaining 7, so the market size we can tell like captured by him would be 30% of the total market, and by you would be 70% of the total market.
Okay.
So in a layman's term, we can say like market size is the total volume in a given market, like total volume in the sense how many numbers of buyers are there in total.
Okay. Any other example? Anyone else want to make a try? Anyone?
So, in case of B2B marketing, suppose if we take Cafe Coffee Day as the company and the clients or the customer consumer on the other end, I think the companies like private sectors like IT companies and all. So I think for from the CCD point of view, the market size will be how much company will be in the particular region there is. Not a single company or not a single branch. I think there may be 10 companies with each and everyone having 2 or 3 branches and all. So, and some of them maybe we are currently with CCD right now, but if they're using their vending machine, but some of them are not. So those who are not also including in the potential market opportunity, because if CCD can segment them and approach them as well, then they can include them as also in their portfolio. So from that perspective, the whole markets is the from the total all of the companies, how much potential the market has that can CCD can make a business out of, not the companies they are already in business with. I think so that's the slides trying to say.
Okay. Good. I think both of you, both Subhendu and Bhaskar, covered two important concepts or two important ways to look into that. What Subhendu at least started to explain is that I look into my competitors. So let's say I have potentially 3 customers or 5 customers. I look into who are my competitors and what are their potential customers and how many buyers they have, right? And I'll if I sum that up, right? So that will give it to total market volume or the total market share. Out of that, how much market value or market share I have, right? I can calculate that. So that is something known as a bottom-up approach. What Bhaskar mentioned, let's say CCD apart from the B2C segment, they also provide vending machines, right? So if you have gone to large corporates or small offices, right? So they have these coffee machines, right? So that is mostly like there are other kind of competitors also, but mostly by CCD. So those machines are basically their target segments are basically all the organizations, right? IT companies, government offices, private offices, right? Other way to look into that same rather than looking into okay how many customers or how many organizations CCD serve, how many organizations let's say Lavaja, which is a competitor, they serve, right? Rather than looking into that, I can look into how many IT companies or how many offices are in India, Out of that, how many might want or how many look into this kind of require this kind of copy machines? Out of that, how many actually I can serve, right? I might not have correct product for them, or I might not be potentially a seller for them because they are looking into a cheaper product. They are looking into a provide less costly product, right? So I might not be a correct kind of seller for them, right? So we'll look into those factors, but that is where Bhaskar was talking about. We have a total number of organizations coming down, right? So that is a top-down approach, or we can get into the bottom-up approach. Generally, like both are combined and we'll look together, right? What is the market potential? Why do you do that? Most of the times when we look into it, and if you are a startup, this is the only slide, right? If you want to go with a single slide to a investor, right? Rather than having a 30 or 50 pages of slide deck, only slide. I'll give you one example, right? There was a company, it was into software like CRM solutions, right? So their whole investor presentation, the first investor presentation did not consist of any slides, only a single website link, right? So they showed that how many customers they have, and by the time they just talked about their product and services, they showed that how many leads or how many people or how many like companies have visited their website and how many orders have placed. That was quickly like so rapidly increasing market they had, right? So one of the important aspect, if any of you think of any time creating a startup or venturing into startup, or if you join a startup, right? Only slide, whether it is a B2C, B2B, whether it is a product or service, market sizing slide is the most important one, right? Apart from the obviously the leaders, but if only one slide they want to look into, that should be your first slide, right? And how do you calculate it? Obviously they look into the calculations also. So in that way, whether it is a startup or whether it is an established company, when they look into a new product, new service or new market, they try to understand how much market share they can get. To understand how much market share they can gain with their product or services, they first have to understand what is the total potential in the market, right? Who are the customer and whether they're willing to purchase or not, right? Then how much market share they can get, right? So that is why if you see there is a underlying person there, important underlying assumptions. Whatever model you create, whatever calculation you create, lot many assumptions you have to take, right? It is not a kind of a clear science that okay, I'll put a formula and my market sizing is done. Obviously, you'll do certain calculation, simple arithmetic, but lot of assumptions has to be made. What they will look into, how correct your assumptions. Is there any basis for your assumptions? Think about in this way. Let's say same thing what Bhaskar was talking about, coffee cafe day. So I should not, the first assumption should not be like based on my own imagination, right? I cannot just say that, okay, there might be 5,000 or 10,000 companies, IT companies in India who might look into coffee machines. So it will not work in that way. I should have a certain justifications for certain calculations. I should get into companies directory. Somehow I should find out that how many IT companies are there. Out of those IT companies, how many IT companies have more than 100 employees or 500 employees, right? If I am going to target IT companies. So at least I should have those justifications, right? So once I find out that, okay, there are 5,000 IT companies who have more than 500 employees, and they have a requirement of this kind of coffee machines, right? They have already existing coffee machines. Out of that, I can take a percentage of 5% or 10%. That is again based upon my past experience. I might take a help of a consultant, right, who are like providing their expertise in that sector. So that assumption is whether 5% or 10%. That is based on your experience, right? Again, like it might not be little clear when you are just looking at theoretically. I'll give an example and we'll go one by one. What do I mean by that? But before that, why it is important? Obviously, if you're launching a new product, new service, whether it is a startup or established company, right? Determining which product service to invest development resources, right? See, your monetary, you cannot, most of the companies are not Apple or Google, right? So they do not have a cash lying in their bank, right? Wherever they want, they can invest. It is not like that, right? They have a limited cash, they have a limited investment opportunities. So they want to prioritize, right? Where they want to, which product, which market, which services they want to invest in, right? If the potential opportunities are less, they will not put their money there, right? Because return on investment will be low. So that is where the next point, prioritizing market segments to target, assessing the staffing needs per given segment. If there is a lot of market potential, right? So you look to hire many resources, right? Right now, if you see TCS, Infosys, TCS started like few years back, they started a specific program, specific hiring stream for this uh, artificial intelligence and machine learning programs, right? So they used to earlier hire this normal software program, C, C++, Java. They created a separate segment because they realized that they need certain skilled resources who will be working on this, like new age kind of software solutions on based upon artificial intelligence or machine learning, right? So they have a, I think this is ion is one of the concept which like kind of started back in 5 or 7 years back, right? Specifically targeting for those kind of segment who require this kind of artificial intelligence or machine learning solutions, right? So that's why you have to find out as a company, if I see that there is a future in this kind of artificial intelligence or machine learning, I need to have staff, I need to have employees for that, right? I need to have salesperson also for that, right? Who can sell those kind of products, where these people like MBAs resources like you will play a major role. It is not only about the coding part. You have to understand how that coding works and how to make a sales, how it is going to help a certain organization, right? Evaluating partnership opportunity. In some cases, you might not have the expertise, you might not have correct product or services. Let's say you want to venture into a new country, right? You need to have a partnership with other companies, right? Evaluating an acquisition opportunity, right? If you see a lot of Google is doing a lot of acquisition across India, Alibaba is doing a lot of acquisition in fintech, right? So that is where you find that, okay, rather than building your own company, right, there is a potential opportunity. Lot of bigger companies do that, right? Facebook, Google, the top 4 or 5 companies, each year they do a lot of hundreds of acquisitions, which we do not read about, but they do that, right? Because even they have the money, even they have the manpower, right? It is not always possible to start or create a new product or service. It is easier to buy those kind of companies, right? So that is where acquisition plays a role, right? If you believe that there is a market potential in India and there are few companies who are working in that segment, in that sector, right? Rather than creating your own product or service, you can always buy that company, right? So that is where the acquisition part comes into play, right? So that is why market sizing is much more important, right? So let us try to understand what do I mean by market sizing, right? The first uh, point is potential market opportunity, right? Total market potential. Sometimes if you see in some calculations, they do not have a separate total market potential or potential market opportunity. They just start with a total addressable market. That is okay, right? So just think about in this way, total market potential is theoretically how many population. Let's say if I want to understand the same example, I'll take and try to go one by one. I am a let's say marketing manager for CCD, and we have started a new coffee vending machine. Right, it is much more efficient, energy efficient. Also, per cup cost is less. Right, so I am targeting only for those IT companies. Right, companies like who I believe that they will be my potential customers. Right, so potential market opportunities, if I say, so that is a hypothetical scenario. Right, all the IT companies. Right, if I have all the sales people involved, I have all the sales channel involved, I can sell it across world, USA, China, everywhere I can sell that machine, right? So that is a potential market opportunity, hypothetical or theoretical market opportunity available to me, right? So how do you calculate that? Number of opportunities multiplied by average selling price of opportunity, right? Obviously average selling price will be, selling price for different organizations will be different, but I will have an idea. This should be my average selling price. Let's say I'm selling the machine for 10,000 rupees or 15,000 or 20,000 rupees, right? Then how many opportunities are there? How many companies I'm going to sell potentially, theoretically? If I have unlimited resources, I have unlimited manpower, everything is available, right? So this is a very hypothetical scenario. So theoretically, I can sell it to all the IT companies. That is a potential market opportunity, right? So most of the times we do not use this. But anyway, just to make you understand, I'm going just step by step. I do not want to miss a step. Out of that, I know that my company exists in India. I have started in India. So I am going to address the Indian market first, right? Maybe in future, if I expand, I can expand in USA, China, other countries. But currently it is in India only, right? So that is where the total addressable market comes into picture, right? Which market I can addressing in near future, right? This year and in the next 2 to 3 years, right? So that is where you'll find out addressable opportunity, which is percent of total opportunities, right? So rather than looking into whole world, right? I know that in India there are around, let's say 10,000 IT companies, right? So 10,000 IT companies, to each IT company, let's say I'm selling on an average one machine, right? 10,000 IT companies multiplied by, I'm going to sell into 10,000 rupees per machine. Let's say average price is 10,000, right? 10,000 IT companies multiplied by 10,000. So that is potential total addressable market, because I'm looking into only Indian market, which I can address, right? So that is total addressable market or TAM. Out of that, obviously it is not possible. Let's say I'm a startup or most of my sales office, let's say in northern part of India and western part of India, right? I might not have that much sales footprint in eastern part of India and southern part of India, right? So let's say, so because I'll segment, so that is where we discussed about macro segmentation and micro segmentation in last class, right? So now I'll segment. So my total addressable market is, there are 10,000 companies. Out of that, I'll segment them, right? How many companies have more than 500 employees? How many companies less than 500 employees? Or maybe location wise, how many companies in northern part of India, southern part of India, western and eastern part of India, right? Based upon that, let's say I created a geographic or location wise segmentation, right? Northern part, western, southern and eastern and central part, 5 segments, right? Out of that, I found out that around 7,000 companies, right, exist in southern part and western part of India. Balance 3,000 combined in all the other 3 segments, right? Other 3 locations, right? Around 5,000 companies only in southern part of India, right? Then I decide that, okay, let's try to start with southern part of India, because most of the IT companies in southern part of India. So that is where my segmented addressable market, because out of that I'm first going to target this one segment, that southern segment of market, southern part, whichever IT companies exist, I am going to target them, right? So that is where those 5,000 companies lie. So now what will be my segmented addressable market? 5,000 companies multiplied by 10,000. 10,000 is per, again, per machine, how much I'm going to sell that units, right? So that is my segmented addressable market. Out of that, obviously I'm not going to convert all of them. There are competitors, right? I'm not the only market leader, or I'm not the only market player, right? So now I have to play with certain assumptions. Up to this point, I have pure data. I have collected data from consultant, from internet, right? I have solid data. Now when I'm doing a expected share of addressable market, right, based upon my past history, right, previous 5 years or 10 years data, I know that out of that, generally I have a market share of 20% or 10% or 5%, whatever has been my existing market share. Sorry. Or if it is a tender basis, right? If I have participated in different tenders, what is my win rate? How many tenders I have won? I might have participated in hundreds of tenders, but generally my winning percentage is 10%. That means if I participate in 100 tenders, 100 opportunities, I generally win 10% of them, right? So that is where expected share of addressable market. Sometimes it is known as serviceable operational market, right? So that market which I can operate on, right? So basically it says that how much market share I can gain, right? So we started with what? We started with total number of IT companies in world, right? So that is the total theoretical hypothetical market potential. I'm not looking into that. Most of the times you'll look into total addressable market. So that is how many IT companies are there in India. Let's say that is 10,000. Out of that, I'll segment them. Let's say I use the criteria location. I started segmenting them, 4 segment, northern, southern, western, or 5 segment, 5 location wise segment. Out of that, I'm going to find out only southern part of India. So southern part of India, I find out that from the company directory, how many IT companies are there in southern part of India. That's a 5,000. Out of those 5,000 companies, right? Actually, how much will be my market share, right? Based upon my past forecast, based upon my winning percentage in previous years. If I'm a startup, I have to make certain assumption, right? And that is where the questions will come from the VC, right? If I say that I will gain 50% market share, this is going to say, are you mad or what? Within 1 year, we are going to win 50% when there are existing competitors, right? And that is where, because I do not have a past forecast, right? I am starting my company right now. So that assumptions will be questioned. That will be, again, you have to provide justification. If I have an established company coming up with a new product, I know that for the last 10 years or 15 years, I have a market share of 10%. So I can consider that number, right? And that will give me expected market share. So out of 5,000 companies, 500, let's say, are companies who will take my product. So 500 multiplied by 10,000, right? So that is where around how much, 5 crore or 50 lakh. That is my, for that product, that is my market share, or that is my market potential. Now, based upon why did I do that calculation, whether that volume is okay for me, whether I should invest in that market, right? So those decisions I'll make once I do this calculation, right? So these are the 4 important aspects. Out of that, at least you have to remember last 3: total addressable market, because most of the use cases will be asking on these last 3 most of the times, because total market potential and addressable market, they take it as same. If you can remember all 4, it is good, and so you will provide a structure, but at least remember the last 3: what is a total addressable market, segmented addressable market, and expected share of addressable market, right? Any questions on this? Again, I'll discuss 1 or 2 more examples on this, but before I discuss those examples, any questions on this?
Sir, in total market potential will consider all the firms that are falling into our criteria.
Yes. So it is again a very hypothetical theoretical scenario, right? So if I do it for a B2C company, if I'm a cold drink, if I'm starting with a cola, like say Coca-Cola or a Pepsi, all 7.2 billion population will be my potential, total market potential, right? Which is again a hypothetical scenario. Obviously, that is not possible.
Okay, sir. Okay.
Any other questions on this? So what, in case you are asked in an interview, or sometimes they just ask you to solve this kind of case study, right? Prior to your interview, right? What they look into the structure, the way you answer, and what justifications you have for these assumptions, right? Like I said, and this is a typical consulting interview, guesstimate. There is something called a guesstimate interview. They just ask like that, right? What will be like total? So if where do you stay? Okay, you stay in Bhubaneswar. How many toll gates are there? Let's say if you move from Bhubaneswar to Baripada, there are 3 toll gates. On an average monthly, what will be the total toll collection, right? So how do you calculate that, right? Same scenario, you have to again make certain assumptions. What is the average traffic flow, right? What kind of different vehicles, right? For each vehicle, obviously you might not remember what is exact the toll fee, but if you have traveled sometime, right, you will just have an idea. If you do not have that, at least make certain numbers, right? And there the interviewer might help you, right? Okay, 50 rupees, 100 rupees, 50 rupees for bike, or bikes are free. For cars, it is 150 or 200 rupees. Again, it is 2-way or 1-way, right? So what they look into the structure you put, right? And again, I'll show you, like I said, a CCD. For the CCD, let's say, same thing they can ask you, right? How many, let's say you are a software, you are from TCS or you are from Infosys, you have this update for a Finacle software. Finacle is the software which is used in all the most of the ATM machines in India, right? There are other softwares also. So now let's say you are a small software startup, you are creating a very intelligent like kind of based on artificial intelligence, one software which can be used in all these ATM machines, right? How will you go about for the market, finding the market potential of that, right? So again, you have to go through the structure. How many banks are there, right, in India? How many private banks and government banks, right? How many of them are ATMs, right? Obviously, you will not remember how many ATMs SBI has or how many ATMs ICICI has, right? So you have to make those assumptions. Then on that, how many of them are looking for upgrade on ATMs, right? Not that everybody will upgrade. let's say 3 new banks or 5 new banks are going to upgrade their ATM machines or going to install their new ATM machines. So on that, so you have to structure your answer, go step by step. So this is my total market potential. Out of that, I can address this many market, right? Based upon what kind of software I'm going to sell or what kind of product or services I'm going to sell. Out of that, what is my segmented? So out of that, it is not possible to target everybody, right? I have to find out the first one. See, think about the example which I gave, the coffee CCD machine, right? It is not that they are not going to sell in northern part of India or eastern part of India. Same machine can be sold, right? But at least in the current year or on the next year, right? Whom I am going to focus on, because I do not have the like kind of infinite sales force, right? So I'll start with the southern part of India. Once I gain the market share, again I'll go to the northern or eastern or western part of India, right? Same situation here, right? If I want to sell a software which can be used in ATM machines, which segment, where do I find the most ATM machines, or where do I see that there are a lot many new banks, right, who are willing to upgrade their ATM software, whether it is western part of India. So I can do that macro segmentation in different way. Rather than going location wise, I look into the private bank and public bank, and out of that, how many are they like kind of started their operations in last 5 years or 10 years, because they might be expanding little rapid than other older banks, right? Rather than SBI or ICICI, which are the traditional, they have been for last many years, right? I'll be looking into new banks, let's say IDFC First or some Karur Bas Bank, something like that, right? Or Ujjain Bank or Equitas Bank, right? And trying to find out how many ATM machines are there. So that will be my segment to target. Then obviously, so those numbers again, if you are in front of an interview, you cannot do a Google search. You have to like at least have certain idea, or at least be close to that correct estimate, right? It is not that they're looking to exactly you tell me how many ATMs SBI has or ICICI has. Nobody will remember that. As long as you give a ballpark figure, 5,000, 10,000, 50,000, that is okay, right? And you can justify your answer. So they're not looking into exactly correct answer. Nobody will be able to find that answer within 15 minutes, right? So people take days, people take months to calculate this kind of information, find that kind of information. What they're looking into is the structure your answer, right? How do you go one by one? Suddenly you cannot say that, okay, I'll just sell to new banks and my market potential is 2 crore or 3 crore. How did you reach that 3 crore or 5 crore? How did you calculate that, right? You have to show that calculation. And this structure will help you. First, go find out total market potential, or if not, at least find out or at least show them that what will be total addressable market. Under that, what will be segmented addressable market based upon the product or services you are selling, which segment you are going to target first, right? So that is segmented addressable market. Under that, expected share of addressable market, right? Obviously, it is not that whomsoever you target, all the companies you will win, right? Not all the companies are going to be your customers. Not all the banks are going to buy your software, right? Out of that, maybe 5% or 10% or 2%. That is where you will justify, right? Where there are already so many larger players. Finding 10% market share will be a huge challenge. I'm looking at a 5% or 3% market share, right? So that is again, they will obviously question why 3%, why not 30, right? As long as you can justify that, that is okay, right? Nobody gets the exact number there. Right? Any questions on this? So this is where you can approach. Again, there is a next slide. We'll discuss and combine them both. The first one, if you remember, Subhendu was talking about that. Find out the competitors. Find out all of your competitors. If I'm a startup, let's say looking into that for a software for ATM machines, right? I look into who are the players, who are the major competitors. Infosys, TCS. There are many companies who build these softwares for ATM machines, right? How many customers they have, right? So obviously not all the information you can find through internet, right? Your sales people, sometimes people append these market research companies who carry out this kind of consulting exercises. They take a sum of money and provide you those information, right? Who are the competitors, or who, how many customers they have, right? So once you find out those competitors or players, right, you add their market segments, right? sometimes their business kind of annual report helps there, right? So if you go to, obviously it will not be in this detail, but let's say cloud computing, right? Amazon is there, Microsoft is there. Let's say you are a small player, you want to create a startup or venture into cloud computing, right? If you go to their website and find out that investor report, you'll find out that what is the revenue they earn on cloud computing, because that details will be available on their investor report, right? So that will able to provide you. If you take 10 competitors, Amazon, how much they earn on cloud computing, let's say Microsoft, how much they earn on cloud computing, and sum that up, right? So that will give you a total market size. It might not be exactly correct, but it will be 90% correct, because you have taken the all the major competitors. There will be always small players whose data won't be available, but at least you will get to 90% accuracy, right? It is a easier thing to do for certain product or services. Cloud computing data is easily available. If you go to any of these kind of software companies, right? So in their investor report or in their kind of annual report, right? So in the revenue breakup, they show that from which segment they have earned that kind of revenue, right? And they are also, they'll show from which geographic segment they have earned that kind of revenue. Eastern Europe, North Europe, or Asia or USA. So they'll give you those segment-wise revenue details, right? And on each segment, from which sector they have got, whether it is normal software services or cloud computing or anything else, right? So that basically that kind of research helps you to find out this kind of data, right? So that is one way to do it. Find out all your competitors, find out major competitors, go through their information which is publicly available, or find out through certain kind of additional research, market research, and find out how much revenue they earn for particular product or services. If you add them up, that will give you the total market size. Other way is to, like we did for the coffee machines or ATM machines, these many total customers, potential customers, out of that these many people might look into these kind of services or product, like we did for those coffee machines, right? There might be 10,000 companies in India. Out of that, 5,000 companies in southern part of India. Out of those 5,000 companies, I might gain 10% market share. So my that share of market will be 500 companies multiplied by 10,000 rupees, because per machine I'm going to charge 10,000 rupees. So that will be my total kind of market share I'm going to get, right? So that is a top-down model when I'm going from the total number of companies or total number of organizations and coming down, right? So that is the top-down model. Any questions on this? So most of the times you have to use both, right? Because neither of them are exactly, like I said, it is not exact science that okay, you'll put a equation and you'll get correct data. Lot of research, lot of estimate, lot of assumptions are to make. So most of the companies use both, right? So they find out company specific details, competitors, how many competitors, for each competitor, what kind of revenue they earn on that particular segment. Fundamental understanding of market. Right now the market might be opening up, right? Or that might be a lot of regulations. 2 years down the line, the regulations might change, right? And revenue might increase, right? So that kind of understanding, certain understanding you should have, right? Then out of that, obviously, how much market you can address, right? So that will give you a bottom up approach. So bottoms up approach means you are doing a competitor analysis, number of competitors, gathering company specific details, adding them up, right? And that will give you the total market size, and out of that, how much market actually you can address. Top down approach is macro segment. How many organizations are there? How many companies are there in this segment? How many are public? How many are private, right? Out of that, on my what is the competition says, how many competitors are there, right? So that will give you idea of that how much market share I can get. If it is a, you are a startup but there are no competitors, you are providing a very new age solutions, there is no competitor, right? You can still take a 80% or 70% market share. But let's say you are a startup in cloud computing, there are already big players, right? All the IT companies have invested in cloud computing. You even getting a 0.5% or 0.2% market share is big challenge, right? So there you cannot go to investor and say that I'll gain 5% market share. Even there, if you put 0.1%, you will be challenged for that, right? So that kind of understanding of competitive rivalry, 4 5%, that kind of understanding you should have, right? Then obviously out of that market, how much you can address, right? So this is a bottom-up approach. You go with competitor analysis, sum that up. In a top-down approach, you find out the macro level data. Macro level data means number of organizations, type of organization, right? If you remember that macro segmentation details, right? But ideally, so it is kind of a triangulation. We use both top-down and bottom-up, and our effort, our sales force expertise, our products or services, innovativeness, whether we can reach that market size. There might be a good market available, but my sales force are not trained, right, to sell the product or services we have created. Or there are some regulation challenges, right? I cannot sell that into that market, right? So you have to consider those aspects also. Your ability and cost to serve with your limited resources, right? So like I said in CCD, right? Why do we start with the southern part of India? I can sell it everywhere because the same machine, it is not a new machine, a different machines across different locations. But the problem is that I do not have a sales force who will visit to northern part of India, central part of India, western part of India, right? So I look into how much sales force, how many sales people I have, and where they can travel and where they can make the sales, right? That is the important aspect. So whenever you do this kind of estimation, right, try to take all the information, top down, bottoms up, and your own company's resources available, right? So that is where the triangulation makes sense. Triangulation means all the three factors, all the three parameters you are taking into consideration to reach on a goal, to pinpoint your, to have a better accuracy. Any questions on this?
So can you explain the opportunity size again, please?
Yeah, opportunity size is same thing. Wherever your expected share of addressable market, at the end, what you are going to find out. So generally people do top-down approach or a bottom-up approach, right? You can either do a competitor analysis, find out your competitor, sum
Yes, sir,
that up.
that I understand, sir. I just want to know, sir, how we can use both of them simultaneously to reach the
Yeah.
opportunity size. That
Yeah. So
triangulation part.
yeah. So basically, let's say you find out a data. So it is not that you will do this independently. You do a top-down. Let's say you find a market share of same thing. Let's say CCD, right? I can go with a top-down approach, and I'll reach it. Okay, there are 500 companies in southern part of India, and for each of them, I can make a sales of 10,000 rupees, right? 500 into 10,000, right? Around 50 lakh opportunity. Bottom up, I can go and find out how many competitors are there in southern part of India. Generally, how much revenue they are selling this coffee vending machine. Let's say there are 3 or 4 competitors, right? Then if I add them up, they gain a, let's say, annual revenue of, let's say, 3 crore or 4 crore, right? Now I'll question myself whether I'm a market leader, because now what I'm selling, what I'm telling, if I do a top-down analysis, what I'm telling, I will gain a market share of, I have a market potential to gain up 50 lakh, annual revenue of 50 lakh rupees. But when I'm doing a bottom-up analysis, the total market available, because right now I'll go to their investor report or the annual balance sheet and try to find out how much revenue they gain from this kind of selling these vending machines. If that data is not available, I might have to appoint certain market research consultant who will kind of do that research and give me that information. So either way, I find that information and see that let's say there is company called Lavaja. There are other companies also who are my competitors of CCD. So one company is getting around 1 crore revenue, other company is getting 2 crore revenue, another company is 1 crore revenue. So all together, they're getting around 4 crores of revenue per year, right? So now, when I say my market share is 50 lakh of that, am I correct? Am I overestimating or underestimating? If there is a total market, my competitors altogether are selling around 4 crore on southern part of India. Total 4 crore machines worth of kind of items. Out of that, I'm going to tell that I'm going to gain 50 lakh of revenue. Am I correct or wrong? Right. So that is where it will help you to kind of make a better judgment, right? If let's say CCD is a market leader, they'll say that, okay, out of 4 crore, I'm just looking at 15% or 12%, which looks very less. I might have done certain mistake on this total, like kind of a top-down approach, because from that I just got a number of 50 lakh. But looking at all my competitors and they get a revenue of around 4 crore. If I am a market leader, at least I should get 20% or 25% of the market, right? So my expected market share should be around 80 lakhs to 1 crore, right? So that will help you to, because one way you have got a calculation of 50 lakhs, other way you are looking at a calculation of 80 lakhs to 1 crore, right? So that will help you to keep a balance. If you go by one way, if you, let's say, if you just go by the bottom up approach, right, you will find a total market opportunity of 4 crore on southern part of India, and you will make an assumption that 25% of the market you will gain. So you will make a huge case or business case that total market available is 1 crore, right? Which might be incorrect also, right? So why do you do both the ways? It will help you. One way you are finding a calculation of 50 lakhs, another way your calculation is 1 crore. Which one of them correct, or do you want to average them out, right? Either you have to take one or you want to average them out. So that uh, that kind of decision you have to make, right, based upon what is your ability. If you think that yes, in southern part of India I am the market leader, I have lot many sales force, obviously I can get a 25% market share or 30% market share, right? So that will help you to pinpoint what is the opportunity size, whether it is 50 lakhs or 1 crore. These information will help you to, okay, I'll be close to 1 crore, not 50 lakh. Calculation might be incorrect because I am confident I have lot many sales force. These calculation, because I have gone through, I believe this information which has come from bottom up. So I look into a 1 crore market opportunity in the next year, right? So that is the expected share of market. So these three information, right? Or in some case, you, if you are a new startup, right, or if you are a new company, you might be little kind of reserved towards putting a 1 crore figure. You might say that, okay, let's go ahead and do this 50 lakh, right, rather than getting into 1 crore, because there are many competitors. I might never get a 1 crore figure, maybe 50 lakh, right? So this will help you to do that kind of triangulation, right? Is it clear or any doubt?
Yes, sir, it's clear, sir. Thank you.
So let us try to understand through certain examples. Because in my previous company, we used to do this calculation for this air conditioning kind of. We used to build this air conditioners for big installations, right? So let's say I am from that company and I'm trying to sell air conditioning units to different educational institutes, right? So I'll target universities, because under universities there will be different schools. It will be easier for me to kind of send my sales force rather than going to individual colleges, right? So what is target market potential? So right, so I'll go to this. So some information you have to do little bit of search. I cannot just make a assumption that, okay, there might be 500 university or there might be 1500, right? So this information is easily available. I can go to UGC site. So there I will find the details of 950 universities, right? So there are around 950 universities, which is total market potential for me, right? Out of that, there are around 485 universities who are deemed to be in private universities who are looking at new vendors, right? If that market intelligence I have, again, that cannot be a assumption, right? Because we did this exercise earlier, right? For my previous company, most of the government companies, right? So they do not look for a foreign company, right? At that time they were very kind of restrictive to allow any foreign vendors, right? We used to import our air conditioners. So they wanted to, there are, I think there are certain government regulations that time. All the installation has to happen from the local party, like manufactured, or the AC is manufactured in India, right? Because we are from, like, we used to import our product from USA or from China. So that's why the, like, kind of, we try to take the market size or try to take those universities who are private or deemed to be university, because government universities had that kind of restriction, right? So that from that list, I'll select those 485 universities who are private or deemed to be university, right? Assume 10% of them have requirement of replacement or new AC systems, right? So around 485, 10% is 48. So take 50. Again, this 10%, if I'm doing a case interview, right? If I'm doing in front of interview, right? I can make my own assumption, because let's say I have not worked in that kind of scenario, that kind of company. I can always take a assumption. But if you're working in a company, this data is easily available, right? Because you know how many, like, you have field sales force, right? So they know that how many institutions, how many organizations are looking for, because they open the tender, right? There are sites which provide you that details. How many new tenders for a particular product or services has come, right? How many replacement orders has come, right? So that information is, I'll not say easily available, but if you have field sales force, they can get that, right? So that again, depending upon the scenario, if you are in front of an interview, obviously you will not have that kind of information. But if you are working in a company, you will get that information from your sales force. So let's say I get that 10% data, right? Assume they have an average new replacement requirement of 50,000 square feet, right? So around the calculation is for 100 square feet. Again, that intelligence you should have, right? Generally, the calculation for air conditioning requirement is in your home also. You might have seen that the for a 100 square feet, 10 by 10 room, and the general calculation is 1 ton AC, right? Same calculation, right? For wherever you require. So what we believe that there are 50,000 square feet requirement of AC replacement, right? So 50,000 square feet requirement means around 500 ton, because 100 square feet we require 1 ton air conditioning kind of power, air conditioning unit. So for 50,000 square feet replacement or the new orders, there will be around 500 tonnage of air conditioning requirement. Price of 1 ton tonnage wise is around 20,000, the unit which you want to, you used to sell. So now what we'll say that, again, this is just a hypothetical scenario which I have put. Out of the total addressable market in India, there are 485 or 500 around universities. Out of that, 10% will have a new or kind of replacement opportunity. There are 50 universities. Each university on an average, let's say 10 ton requirement, right? 10 tonnage of air conditioning. So that is across 500 tonnage, right? So that is the total addressable market, right? But obviously, depending upon my sales force, depending upon my service center, right? I cannot get all the 500 tonnage, right? So now I have to look into where is my sales force, where is my service personnel, right? Where have I have a better reach to reach those customers, right? So let's say again, this is not actual data. This I have just put on my hypothesis. You can look into eastern part of India. We do not have sales and service network in other parts of India, so I'm focusing on eastern part where I have major sales force and major service centers. So let's say 25% of total opportunity, right? So I have around how much? 20,000 into 500. What will be the calculation? 2 lakhs.
Say 1 crore.
Okay, there are 50 universities and each of them are looking at 500 tonnage, right? 50 into 500 is 25,000. 25,000 multiplied by 20,000. That is around 50 crore, right? Did I make that calculation? Just check that zero. Yes, so it is around 50 crore, right? How did I reach on that number? There are around 50 universities, right, who are looking for new or replacement kind of offices. Each university have a requirement because there are different schools. Think about a university such as KIT, right? Each university might have a requirement of 500 tonnage, right? 50 multiplied by 500, that is around 25,000 tonnage. Each tonnage I'm selling it at 20,000 rupees, right? 25,000 multiplied by 20,000, right? So that will give me a total potential opportunity, total addressable market of 50 crore. Out of that, I'm looking only into eastern part. That is a pure hypothesis, right? So I'm saying that I have my major sales force and service centers in eastern part of India. So I'll capture around 25,000. That is my segmented addressable market, right? That is around 12 point. So 1/4 of this is 12.5 crore, right? Obviously, that is the eastern part of India. That many market potential is available. I'm not going to win all of them. There are different competitors. We used to compete with these Indian companies, Voltas, then Whirlpool, then this Carrier was one of the biggest competitor, right? And there are many local manufacturers also, right? Daikin was one of the biggest kind of competitor. So obviously they will also have their own market share. I'm not going to get all those 12.5 crore rupees. From my past data, I have seen that each 8 tenders I have participated, I have won only one. So my success ratio is 1/8, right? So that is again from my past data, right? So I have seen in the past almost 12.5% around success ratio, right? So out of 12.5 crore, I'm looking at a potential opportunity. If I divide that by 8, around 1.56 crore, right? So this is my expected share of addressable market in near future, in this year, in the current year, right? So this is how you have to do the calculation. Is this clear or any doubt?
Sir, in total market potential, you haven't multiplied average selling price of opportunities.
Yes, I should have done that. Correct. So 950 into I should have multiplied by the. So actually the second calculation, right? Like I said, most of the times we do not use the total market potential, so I did not spend much time on it. But yes, if I have gone through what I have shown in the slide, right? So ideally I should have gone by 950. Each university, what is the total kind of requirement, right? Around 500 ton, 950 into 500 ton multiplied by 20,000 rupees. So that will be my total market potential, right? Out of that, 950 won't be there. That will be actually 950 will get converted into only 50, because 950 out of that only 485 are private and deemed to be universities. Out of 485, there is only 10% of actually looking for replacement or new systems, right? Not all of them are going to replace their air conditioners. So that will give me an actual number of 50. So 50 multiplied by 500 ton into 20,000. That 500 ton and 20,000 remains same. Only thing what changes here, it was 950. Addressable market becomes 50, right? Because from 950 there are 485 private and deemed to be universities. Out of 485, 10%, around 50 universities are looking for replacement, right? Yes, but you are correct. In the first one, I have not done.
Yes, sir. Yes.
So again, this I've taken from internet. I have not done any calculation, but the similar approach, right? Let's say you are a software kind of manufacturer, right? You have started creating small software, right, which are going to compete with, which can be used by smaller organizations, right? Rather than they buying from Microsoft or any other CRM players, right? They can just use your software, right? So this is where the total. So here, if you see, they have not got into the total market potential, right? So like I said, in some cases, they just start with the total available or total addressable market, TAM. There are 60 million corporations with 600. So this is, there are 60 million corporations having 600 million Excel users. So this is total on the world they are looking into, right? So there is a startup which is going to, so I am this is not for air conditioners. Just a minute. So this as a new startup vendor or new software vendor, right? You have created a new CRM solution, right? Which can replace, which are much better potential or much better features than Excel files, right? So then out of that, you find out something called, this is serviceable. In our case, we have written it as segmented addressable market, right? In either way, right? So this is the market segments, or this is this corporation, these many corporation, you have seen that, okay, I can target them, right? So you have created different segment out of all those 60 million corporations. Out of 60 million corporation, you find out 1% Excel users, right, might use your kind of software, right? 2% of CRM users. So 2% of this total 225 million users. 10% of accounting users, right? 10% of 20 million is 2 million, right? So this is how you calculate. So out of 600 million, right, only 1%, that is 6 million Excel users. Out of 225 million CRM users, you are targeting, or you are you know that you can address around 2% of them. Similarly, from cloud accounting users, you are looking into 10%, right? So around 2 million users. Out of that, based upon your sales force, based upon your previous win rate, because you know that there are other competitors also, right? You are not going to get everything out of it, right? So you are looking into again 1% of this, right? So this is again based upon your assumptions or based upon your field sales force, right? So out of all those 600K corporations, you are looking into 6 to 10,000 corporations, right? That is your serviceable obtainable market or SOM. Same thing in our case, what we told that expected share of addressable market. If I go to my previous slide, expected share of addressable market. This is same as your serviceable obtainable market, SOM, right? So total available or total addressable market, segmented addressable market, same as serviceable available market, because I'm looking at this kind of software. Then looking out expected share of addressable market is known as serviceable obtainable market, right? S1, right? So this is how you carry out this kind of analysis, right? So that is why, if you remember in the first slide, I had underlined that lot of important assumptions, and your calculation, your business case will be completely changed if you make this kind of mistakes, right? How to avoid those kind of mistakes? If it is a startup, obviously you will not have any past data. You have to go with like kind of whatever data you have available. You should take help of those people who are experienced in that kind of. So that's why most of the venture capitalists looks into who are in your board, who are. I might have a great idea, but if I'm not taking help from some industry people who have already that in that sector for 10 or 15 years, this he will not approve my business case, right? So that is where that experience matters, because they can tell that okay, no, it is not 1%, it might be 0.1%. It is not possible to get 6,000 or 10,000 organizations in the first year itself. You might be looking into only 60 or 100 organizations, right? So see how your numbers will change, right? If I am like very kind of attached to my idea, I say that yes, in the first year I'll look into 1% market. But somebody who has worked as a salesperson in that industry for last 15 years, if he is my CMO, right, he will tell, it is not at all possible. You might get 0.1% if you're lucky and if you have an excellent product or service, or less than that. So go by only 0.1 or less than that, 0.05%. Then my numbers will completely change. Rather than 6,000, 10,000 organizations, I'll be looking into 60 or 100 organizations, right? Right? And that will be a correct number, that which I can show into VC. But if I'm an established company, I'm looking at a new product, new services, right? I will, like, based upon my past data, right? Past winning rate, right? Like I said in my previous case, our past history has been success rate of 12.5%, right? So I took that data. Here, if you are an established company, you are selling that kind of software, you look into what has been your winning percentage in last few years, right? And that will give you a better idea, right? Any questions on this? So I'll share this slide once our sessions are over. I have given you a class exercise, which is basically a drone company, right? That drone company is selling their drones, right, to different sectors. What I have given you, the transportation and logistics, right? And if you go to that side, I have given you a link. So it will show you how those drones are helping those organizations, right? In the road construction, right? To like kind of acquire land, to at least have that surveillance, right? So go by this, either this slide or my previous slide where I have done the calculation, or by this slide, and try to create that kind of analysis, right? What will be the total addressable market? Because this is a startup, right? That Skylark drones. What will be the target market size, right? Out of that, how much actually they can SM, segmented addressable market, right? From total addressable market, what is the segmented addressable market? From the segmented addressable market, which will be based upon their winning rate, right? What will be the kind of how much market share they can expect, right? So certain information you will able to find, how number of transport organization, number of logistics companies, right? You will be easily able to get from internet, right? Do little bit of research for half an hour or 20 minutes, and you will be able to get that kind of data, right? And I have already given the Excel template where you have to kind of do those calculations. Any questions before I proceed further? Okay. So now it is an interesting slide. Let us discuss what is written in the down, right? Many firms use forecast to determine the level of marketing expenses, right? So the first part is done. market sizing and estimation is done, right? Now we are looking into, so those are basically done for new product or services and new market, right? Now we are looking into the sales forecasting part, which is for the existing product or services, right? So already the product or services have been in market, and how to forecast for next year, right? So we are looking into that part, estimating demand basically. Many firms use the forecast to determine the level of marketing expenditure. This is a mistake. Can anybody tell me why is that? Anyone? See, if you have like gone through that, there is a subject I guess for the advertisement and even on the marketing management, right? One of the kind of finding the like kind of and also in the B2B advertisement when we discuss that, one of the criteria of finding advertisement expenses, right? How much money you are going to spend on promotions, right? That basically is a something is known as a thumb up rule. So if let's say I have a thumb up rule in my organization of 2% of revenue, 2% of sales or revenue should uh, put on promotions or advertisement, right? Which is actually wrong, though many companies use that. So that is being mentioned here. So what is written here? Many firms use forecast to determine level of marketing expenses. Ideally, what should happen? Marketing strategy determines sales, right? Not your sales will determine your marketing strategy. Think in this way. COVID has happened and many organizations are suffering, right? Your revenue will decline. Does it mean that you will, because if I say that my marketing expenses is dependent upon my revenue, right? So in that case, what will happen? Obviously, my marketing expenses will get down. If some year I have done a excellent revenue, my marketing expenses will suddenly increase, right? If I go by that thumb up rule, believe me, many companies do that. Go by that thumb up rule. 2% of your sales, 2% of your revenue will be put on promotions, which is a silly rule. Because now COVID has happened, your revenue has gone down. Ideally, you should focus on new innovations, new product, and how to promote them, right? Not that you are going to reduce your revenue has reduced, that's why you are going to reduce your promotions, right? But most companies do that. Then that is what written here, right? Your marketing strategy should determine sales. Your sales, your revenue should not determine marketing strategy. But most companies do this in a conservative way. Some year they have excellent revenue, they'll put much more money on marketing, much more money on kind of their promotions. Some years, if they have a less revenue, less sales, they will be very conservative to put money on. Actually, in those years where you have less sales, less revenue, those are the years, that is the time where you should kind of at least, again, judiciously, it is not that you should spend a lot, judiciously find out where you should invest on marketing programs, right? So this is the step or the framework of estimating demand. We start with evaluate economic conditions, right? Final consumer demand, right? Right now, COVID has happened. Certain items, certain product, the requirement has increased, right? Medical items, sanitizers, gloves, right? Suddenly that has increased, right? Earlier years, those estimates will not hold true. Last 2 years, if you see the sales of those products, those demand, customer demand has increased, right? So that is what, depending upon the economic conditions, societal conditions, those demand will change. Assess industry situation, that is the competitor analysis you have to do. Some kind of finding out, gauging or sensing who are the competitors, whether they are coming with a new product, right? So those kind of competitive intelligence reports you should have, which will tell that, okay, these are the two companies which are coming up with their new product. One new company which is based outside India, they are venturing into Indian market, right? So they will be a tough competitor to beat, right? So those kind of assessments should happen. Buyers, competition, inventories, demand trends. So these are the few things you should keep in mind. Determine market and sales potential, right? Based upon your competitor involvement, based upon your past data, right? There are many ways to do that. In the next slide, we'll look into qualitative data, we'll look into quantitative. So simple regression also sometimes you can use. You might have done certain project on your QT part, doing regression analysis to find the sales forecast, right? Determine market and sales potential by customer, by product, by territory. This is important, right? Depending upon the product or services you are selling, right? You look into allocate by product, what is my sales potential, by different customers. If I'm a B2B organization, I'll be looking into smaller organizations, larger organizations, medium-sized organizations, or geographic locations, right? If I am from TCS or Infosys, I'll look into which market I'm going to sell more, USA, Europe, or Asia market. That is my territory by territory, right? Based upon that, wherever I have a larger sales potential, right, I find that okay, market potential is huge, right? Now if you see like the last 5 to 10 years, not 10 years, the last 5 years, right? Earlier, if you see TCS, Infosys, all the IT companies, most of their revenue used to come from USA, followed by Europe. Last 3 to 5 years, they have started, though that number is small, they have started to look into countries like United Arab Emirates, Gulf countries, right? Because lot of investment, lot of kind of focus on IT strategy or IT software or IT hardware is going on there, right? So one of the major applications or one of the major kind of customers, many customers are coming from that area. So that is where you will allocate your efforts. If you think that there is a market potential in, if I am an IT company and I find out that it seems to be a huge market potential in Gulf countries, right? So I'll allocate my selling, advertisement, and my distribution channel, right? Obviously, for IT companies, there won't be any distribution channel. I only will have my sales force. But obviously, advertisement in terms of my people, my sales person traveling there, talking to them, right? Selling to them, right? So I have to put certain money, put certain investment based on that. I just cannot tell that, okay, last year I had a revenue of 50 crore, 100 crore. Out of that, I'll put 2% onto marketing programs. It won't work like that. Depending upon potential market opportunity, I should decide how much money I should invest in marketing program. If I find out that maybe last 3 years, I have not made any sales in Gulf countries, right? As an IT company, very few sales or zero sales on Gulf countries. But I know that in the next 3 to 5 years, that economy is going to boom and there will be a lot of opportunity to sell IT software and hardware, right? Ideally, I should put a lot of investment in selling, lot of investment in salesperson. My salesperson should go and visit those countries, visit those organizations, and try to understand what kind of product or services they want, right? So that is where your expected sales will come. This is like based upon my marketing programs, how much expected sales. So that calculation you have to do from your past data, and if it is a new product or service, like I showed in the previous slide, you calculate that your winning percentage and find out that what is your expected sales, right? Other ways to do it from the forecast basis, right? You don't look into the potential, you do not look into your segmentation, you do not look into your customer or product or territory. You just create certain standard. Okay, so last year I had a sales of 100 crores or revenue of 150 crore. My standard is every year I will increase. So that is certain companies mission, right? Every year they'll keep a target. CMO or the CEO will keep a target. 10% every year the revenue growth should be 10%, and that is what they present in that investor report. So we are looking at a year on year 10% revenue growth or 20% revenue growth. So that is where the standard, developing standard, right? What is my expected sales growth? So last year I had 100 crore, let's say, sales. So my standard is, or the matrices is 20% year on year revenue growth. So I am looking for a potential sales of 120 crore. But this information based upon my marketing programs, based upon my actual involvement in the market, will tell me actual expected sales, whether it is 120 crores or 110 crores or 150 crores. So that is my expected sales, right? So generally people use these three criteria. What is my expected sales? What is my potential sales? Potential sales is based upon the standard my company is taking. Most of the companies will have a standard. So that is a commitment the CEO or the CMO is making. how much year on year revenue growth, sales growth or profit growth they are going to make, right? Then actual sales will happen, right? Then you will compare that actual sales with the expected sales and potential sales, which will again help you to make a commitment or make a forecast in next year, right? So this is how for most of the organization this kind of estimation process work, right? Any questions on this? Yes, Subhan.
So can we take the help of like past data while
Yes,
estimating
yes,
a demand?
yes, yes, definitely. If you have a established company, 99, not 99, 100% of the time, people or the companies take the help of past data, right? So determine market sales potential, right? If it is existing product or services, right? And on that, let's say last 5 or 10 years, I have a revenue growth of 20% year on year, right? So that will help me to create a standard. So that will give me an estimate of, okay, last year I had 100 crore, next year it will be 120 crore. So that is where your past year data helps. But what you have to, so it should not be as simple as that. Under, on and above that, you have to take these consideration, how much effort you are putting. There might be certain new market where you do not have the revenue last year, but you have put a lot of effort, lot of sales people have gone there, traveled there. So you are looking at an additional 5 crore or 10 crore revenue from that market, right? So that will come from the, so that will add up your expected sales, right? Because if you just look into your past data, right? Because let's say in the Gulf countries, you have not made a IT hardware or you have not sold any IT software, right? So in your past data, it will not be there. That will happen if you have actually intelligently make certain effort to sell or at least establish that kind of connection there. So that will give you those kind of revenue. Does it clarify your question?
Yes, sir. So that's where my doubt was. Like,
Yeah.
it would be like the second stage. Like, first we have to make sure that whether the product fits, specific market needs or not. After that, we can check over all the past data. Right, sir?
Yeah, actually it happens parallelly, right? So there is already a kind of a in finance department, right? Most of this part, so it is a mix of marketing and finance guys, right? So finance department, based upon the past data, they will be creating a business case, what will be the future year's revenue, right? Parallelly, marketing team will be working. Let's say they are launching a new product or service, how much effort they have put, right? So they will come up with the expected sales. So parallelly that happens, right? We have a existing database where we know that for past few years, what has been our revenue growth. Parallelly this year, how much effort we have put, or we are looking into how much effort we are going to put in next year, right? So that will give us some additional data. So marketing team will come and say that, okay, we have put a lot many sales people have gone there, and so that is where the different stages of lead generation, whether it is a qualified lead or just a lead. So we'll see in the next few slides down the line, there is a slide which I'll show you how to actually get those numbers. So all the IT companies, most of the IT companies use that kind of method. At what stage of lead generation it is there? If it is in the beginning stage, I'll just take a 10% or 20% success rate. If it is in the final stage, I'll take a success rate of 80 to 90%. Okay, let us try to understand through an example. Let's take Infosys. Okay, Infosys has a revenue of I don't know, 10,000 of crores or much more than that per year, right? So like 10 billion or 20 billion dollars. So now what happens? So they have a past data, and each segment wise, product wise, location wise, right, territory wise, customer wise, big customers, small customers, they have this kind of data, right? So that past data will help them to, and they know that for last 5 years or 10 years, they have a 10% year on year revenue growth. So they have a standard. So they have made a standard. The CEO have made a commitment that last year, if they had made sales of, let's say, 20,000 or 30,000 crore, this year they are going to at least increase it by 33,000 crore. So they will be around 30,000 or 34,000 crore, right? So that is where the potential sales option will come into picture. But now the marketing team parallelly working. They'll come back and say that last year we did not have any sales opportunities coming from Gulf countries, but this year we are looking into make a sales of at least 100 crore or 200 crore, right? So similarly, other marketing teams will come up and say that, okay, this is a potential market where new competitor has come. So our market share might decline. So it is not always that we are going to win every market. New kind of competitors might come and take away your market share. So all together, you'll gather those market intelligence and say that we are looking at a expected sales of this number. But in the base, always your past data will be there. In the past, last year, let's say you had made a sales of 30,000 crore. On that, you will take a standard and say that, okay, 10% of that. So I'll make a potential sales of 33,000 crore. So that is just a calculation. A simple standard 10% of additional market share. Parallelly, your marketing team, sales team are putting effort to gain new market. Sometimes there will be additional challenges. New competitor has come, you might lose certain tenders, certain deals. All together, right? What is your expected sales? So this might be around 32,000 or 34,000 crore, right? So that will become your expected sales. And this is a potential sales, which is just from the standard. So both, to answer your question in short, both happens parallelly. In the base, always your past year data are there. Past year historical data will be there.
Got it, sir. Got it.
So I'll stop here for today. From the next class, we'll look into different type of forecasting method, right? And please complete the assignment. And like I said, start preparing on your presentations. Your presentations will happen on 1st and 8th October. Last 1 minute, any last questions?
Sir, I missed my attendance in the beginning.
Okay. Roll number?
Sir, so
Sir,
do
roll
I.
number 220. 220.
Sir, I also. Sir,
Sir, I even
280.
missed the- Sir, yeah.
220.
Sir, I
Who is next?
Sir,
Sir,
202.
280. Cisco operator.
220, 202. Next.
202 Rishabh Mishra.
Yes, I have taken yours. Next.
Thank you.
2311 Dheeraj Singh Best.
311. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Sir,
Who is-
280. Sujit
Who-
cooperator.
280. Okay. Anyone else? Okay.